They told you the world is loud, that victory arrives as celebration and metal confetti, that power has a soundtrack and success needs a stage. But the first truth meets you in a quiet room. Power is a soundproofed practice. It does not shout. It arranges. It prices the air and hires the echo. You walk through a city that glows like an obedient circuit board, every window a pixel of compliance, every lobby a checkpoint for the approved. Somewhere above you, a signature dries. It will never appear on the evening news, but entire neighborhoods will feel it. You were taught to look for winners where the noise is. Yet the winners hide where there is paperwork, where the deal is so boring it becomes invisible, where the clause reads like punctuation but functions like a door only a few can open. You ask yourself softly, why am I stuck while others rise? And the answer that returns is not about sprinting. The rich do not run faster. They move quieter. They step into rooms you didn't know to look for, while you circle loud arenas designed to waste your breath. They meet on Tuesday afternoons when outrage is trending. Their calendar is a shield, their silence a tool. But what if the market is not a storm you endure, but a climate someone designs? What if the crashes, the news, the recoveries, the inevitable cycles are less about fate and more about arrangements? You begin to notice patterns. The price moves before the story. The zoning changes before the development. The supply shortage announced after the positions are taken. And you begin to understand. The war is not fought. It is scheduled. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Luck is often the alibi of the well-positioned. When the dice keep landing in the same hands, it isn't gravity, it's choreography. You feel it in the way the city hums, its escalators moving at a mathematically calm pace, its contracts writty, and in a grammar that punishes wonder. The poor debate morality, the powerful debate timing. You were told to play fair. They were taught to invent the rulebook mid-game and call it reform. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The silent war of wealth is not an open battlefield. It is the composition of incentives. It is the corridor you never walk because you were trained to applaud the shows in the auditorium. You are pried from your position by fees, by delays, by terms of service you only skim, by interest rates that turn rebellion into bad math. In this war, victory doesn't resemble triumph. It resembles continuity. Nobody notices the conquest because the city looks the same. Only the bill changes. You begin to step back. Observe. Detach from the performance you were cast into. Emotion is the leash. Reaction is the bell. When outrage barks, the powerful move assets. When panic spikes, they buy time. When hope surges, they sell stories dressed as certainty. You realize the greatest weapons are not weapons at all. They are calendars, covenants, defaults, and narratives. The generals of this war wear quiet suits. Their medals are tax outcomes. Their battleground is perception. And yet, the truth is darker. You felt guilty for not trying hard enough, but the staircase you were climbing was a treadmill. You were held in place by design. You were sold slogans. They purchased silence. You were trained to believe noise is evidence. They learned that noise is camouflage. So you shift, slow your pulse, find the gaps where decisions accumulate, study where the real agreements are negotiated, between debt and patience, between scarcity and story. You practice the most subversive act left. You stop performing and you start reading the room. The war was always here, but the first victory is seeing it, unmasked, without the theater, without the chorus. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You stand before an old banknote. Linen, ink, promise. Nothing about it glitters, and yet this ordinary paper once purchased armies and governed kings. You ask the question that disassembles illusions. What is value really? And the echo answers, value is belief, subsidized, a story with enforcement, a confession of faith that someone will accept tomorrow what you accept today. They told you value is discovered, like gold in the riverbed or truth in the data. But what if value is confessed into existence, negotiated, branded, normalized, till the fiction hardens into law? You look around. Luxury turns scarcity into ritual. Technology turns speculation into climate. A handbag costs a car, and it makes sense, because enough eyes decided it would. A startup marks to myth and gains $1 billion in valuation with no profits, only narrative velocity. And the market applauds, not because it is fooled, but because it is fed. Here's the part no one dares to admit. The mint is not a building. It is a consensus machine. Central banks are temples, but so are platforms, brands, and crowds. Whoever can convene belief can write prices. Whoever can institutionalize belief can write history. The poor ask, is this fair? The powerful ask, is this stable? If stability is just an emotion with a lobby behind it. But what if value were a network effect of human longing? You begin to see the choreography, create a story, confuse it with scarcity, accredit it with an institution, then circulate it through rituals, auctions, indexes, awards that perform rationality while engraving desire. The ledger honors the ritual honors the ledger, and the loop feeds. And in that silence, the truth whispers. You realize that market discipline often means disciplining belief into a comfortable corridor. Outliers are punished unless they are sponsored. Doubt is priced as volatility. Obedience is priced as blue chip. You start to hear the private language of value makers: float, liquidity, carry, duration, each word a valve a way to control the pressure of attention. If a narrative grows too hot, they cool it with prudence. If a narrative goes cold, they warm it with urgency. A deeper revelation emerges. Illusions work because they are shared. When enough people pretend, pretense becomes infrastructure, and infrastructure is almost impossible to challenge without appearing insane. You suspect that money itself is the master illusion, not because it is fake, but because it is real only as long as we kneel to its grammar, and we do, all day, every day. You now understand the tactic. If you cannot make the product superior, make the belief stronger. If you cannot make the belief stronger, make the dissenter expensive. Value relies on the price of dissent. When it costs too much to disagree, consensus becomes destiny. The silent war of wealth multiplies here, through brands that sell belonging, funds that sell inevitability, platforms that sell identity. Every price is a story with a police badge. And yet, a darker clarity arrives. The powerful don't need your love. They need your alignment. Indifference is acceptable. Resistance is costly. If you opt out, they invoice the exit. If you play along, they lease you status. This is how value chains you, not as a prisoner, but as a participant. And in that silence, the truth whispers. So you reconstruct your site. You test beliefs before you adopt them. You follow who benefits from the story. You stop arguing about worth and start mapping enforcement. Value, you learn, is not truth. It is tribute. Pay it consciously, or you will pay it blindly. The illusion will not disappear, but it will lose its power to recruit your sleep. You were taught that obedience is a moral choice, that compliance is a private posture of good citizens. But the architecture shows otherwise. Obedience can be installed. It can be scaffolded into daily habits and rented to you through interfaces. It can be financed, nudged, gamified, and quietly enforced by systems designed to make disobedience uneconomic. You begin to feel it in the small things: a default checkbox you never noticed, a recurring fee you never questioned, a form that demands you prove you are not a bot by behaving like a machine. Your time is monopolized by paperwork that converts the human into the compliant. A lender monetizes delay. A platform monetizes your reflex. An employer monetizes your fear of exclusion. Each one pulls a thread. Alone, they are trivial. Together, they weave a net. But what if control doesn't need a whip when a schedule will do? A calendar full of urgency leaves no space for dissent. A curriculum heavy with standardized virtue leaves no appetite for doubt. You wake at 6, commute, perform, scroll, repeat. You are free, technically. And yet the exits charge a toll so high, the word free becomes a slogan on a screen you cannot turn off. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Surveillance doesn't require cameras if you self-report through apps. Censorship doesn't require bans if you pre-censor to preserve access. Indoctrination doesn't require lectures if your dietary, political, and entertainment choices are shaped by a feed tuned to your triggers. The mind cage locks from the inside. And in that silence, the truth whispers. The psychology is simple and savage: fear of loss, craving for approval, terror of isolation. You think in crowds because crowds reduce risk. You obey patterns because patterns reduce shame. The architecture exploits this: intermittent rewards, virtue signaling disclaimers, and social metrics that turn judgment into a scoreboard. When the points define the person, the game owns the soul. And yet, the truth is darker. The masses aren't simply duped, they are tired. Exhaustion is a strategy. It dissolves the will to resist. It makes the mundane feel like mercy. A gentle push here, a small penalty there, and soon you move like water down a designed slope. If you try to climb, the slope bills you. If you rest, the slope entertains you. If you question, the slope explains you to yourself, for your convenience. So you step outside yourself for a moment. Observe. You are not a failure, you are a target. Your attention is domesticated because domestication is profitable. Your anger is harvested because outrage is sticky. Your hope is packaged because aspiration sells. To break the trance, you do not scream. You pause. Silence becomes a blade that cuts the glue of habit. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Detachment is not apathy. It is oxygen. It's the space that lets you see the architecture instead of arguing with its decorations. You begin to replace reaction with reconnaissance. You ask, what is this design trying to make me do? Who pays if I comply? Who benefits if I refuse? You let questions replace impulses. Obedience drains when the script is visible. The system still surrounds you, but the spell thins. Your steps become your own. Your time returns to your pocket, minute by deliberate minute. You expected power to be a clenched fist. Instead, you find a velvet glove signing endowments. You expected conquest to be an invasion. Instead, it is a calendar invite titled partnership. The playbook of quiet conquest is austere: position, pretext, proxies. Do not fight the fortress. Buy the road that feeds it. Do not attack a strong story. Sponsor it and edit the credits. You notice how scandals appear in useful sizes, large enough to distract, small enough to remain containable. While the crowd swallows the bait, something crucial slides through a procedural gate. A regulation is modernized. A competitor's debt is purchased by an anonymous vehicle. A think tank releases a paper that praises a policy that pads a portfolio. The proof is never a smoking gun. The proof is a pattern. But what if the real battlefield is not policy but pretext? You cloak self-interest in public virtue. You launch a foundation because charity is better armor than secrecy. You seed a study because footnotes travel farther than opinions. You cultivate influencers because immaculate smiles sell inevitability better than press releases. The language is always benevolent. The outcomes are always precise. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Plausible deniability is not a legal strategy. It is a lifestyle. Keep your hands clean. Outsource the mess to market forces and public demand. When a decision causes harm, call it an unintended externality. When a decision confers advantage, call it the wisdom of the market. If anyone protests, fund a task force to listen and learn. And in that silence, the truth whispers. Positioning does most of the work. You learn to arrive first in rooms where futures are drafted. You learn to leave last, gifting other people the illusion that they convinced you. You cultivate scarcity. The emptier your calendar, the more valuable your time becomes. You do not advocate loudly. You make it expensive to say no to you. When the deal closes, nobody remembers your name. That is not a failure. That is technique. The psychology is chilly. Never be the villain if you can be the weather. People accept weather. They curse it, but they plan around it. Become the climate through which decisions must pass. Be patient. Let others exhaust themselves in scandal while you exhaust them in process. If they shout, you measure. If they demand, you define. If they resist, you reframe. And yet, the truth is darker. Quiet conquest eats meaning. It devours the old rituals of drama and courage. There are no heroes in procedural victory, only technicians of outcome. The city feels safer, but it is colder. The culture feels smarter, but it is emptier. You begin to wonder what has been lost in the gentle storm of polished control. So you adapt without surrender. You learn the playbook not to worship it, but to avoid being sacrificed by it. Strategy becomes a lens, not a religion. When you see the proxies moving, the lobbyist, the pundit, the curated outrage, you resist the theater and track the money. When a narrative is too neat, you look for the offstage payroll. You make calm your posture, timing your moves to the fatigue of your opponents, not the fever of the crowd. This is not kindness, it's clarity. And in that silence, the truth whispers. In the highest rooms, the air is cool. Conversations are precise. Nothing is urgent. The operator who lives here does not command. He arranges. He rarely says no. He says, not yet. He doesn't crush enemies. He reprices them. He doesn't fight battles. He retires them with terms. You expect villainy. He offers transparency tours and ribbon cuttings. And yet, when he turns away from the lights, the real ceremony begins, contracts shifting, debts changing hands, narratives smoothing into policy. You ask yourself, what remains when the mask drops? If power is arrangement, what is mastery? The answer is a mirror you did not want to face. Mastery is perception weaponized, not to harm but to harness, to control the frame so thoroughly that the pieces move themselves, to make compliance look like choice and reward look like virtue. The operator's hands are clean because the machine he built does the touching. But what if you refuse to become the machine? If you cannot play harder and you choose not to play crueler, what remains? Awareness. The only antidote that costs nothing and changes everything. Awareness strips theater from reality. Awareness is the cold light that makes glamour sweat. It does not rescue you from the game. It makes you unreadable within it. Here's the part no one dares to admit. Self-control is the last fortress. The final pivot in the mind war is not to conquer others. It is to become ungovernable by their incentives. When your attention is yours, manipulation starves. When your time is yours, urgency withers. When your emotions are yours, the auction of your will collapses. You become a bad investment for those who trade in reflex. And in that silence, the truth whispers. So you practice the new posture. You speak less. You listen for the business model behind every sermon. You audit your loyalties. You pay your debts, then refuse to renew the ones that own your spirit. You accept that value is a story, You choose your storytellers carefully. You stop arguing about fairness as a feeling and start negotiating for leverage as a fact. You align with the patient. You decline the frantic. You answer invitations with a price. The moral and psychological price of awakening appears. It is loneliness. It is the end of naive belonging. Awareness turns crowds into weather. You plan around them, but you no longer stand in their reign. You mourn the comfort of illusions that once warmed you. And then you breathe. The room grows spacious. The hallway of necessary compromises shortens. You find the door that was always there, disguised as an adult decision. And yet, the truth is gentler than you feared. You do not need cruelty to be strong. You do not need deception to be effective. You need clarity, discretion, and the courage to be underestimated. Eyes open, hands clean. You refuse the theater and insist on the ledger. You move quietly, but not invisibly to yourself. You learn to leave fingerprints only on your own conscience. And in that silence, the truth whispers, again and finally. You are not chosen. You are not invited by fate. You are simply awake. The mind war cannot recruit you because you recognize its uniform. Power touches you and finds nothing to grip. Systems approach and meet your terms or pass you by. You carry no banners. You write no manifestos. You step through the city like a question it cannot quite answer. The awakening is not a trumpet. It is a posture, and it is enough. You have seen the machinery, how value is written like scripture, how obedience is scaffolded, how conquest arrives as consensus. You felt the temperature drop when noise faded and arrangement appeared. You know now, control is not spectacle, it is design. If you've come this far, you already sense the pattern. The rich don't play harder, they play colder. They buy time, not applause. They win by writing the room. And when you reclaim your attention, when you choose your narratives deliberately, you step off the auction block and onto the balcony. Stay with us. Not for the comfort of agreement, but for the discipline of clarity. We don't chase the loud, we study the quiet. We don't worship the game. We learn its grammar, then decide how to speak. Subscribe, not for content, but for consciousness. Join a circle that chooses thought over theater, leverage over noise, design over drift. If you are ready to keep seeing deeper, to keep moving with eyes open and hands clean, step into the silence with us.